Best News Talk 107.1 The Point, here with Cooper and Winslow, and we're talking with Kathleen Hensley on the Republican ticket, is what she'll be running for. She's running against Stan Watson and Sean Rhodes. We had a chance to speak with some of those. We also had a chance to speak with R.A. Pendergrass, and this morning, Winslow.
Good morning, Kathleen. We'd love to welcome you to the studio. There's a lot of things to be discussed this morning, but first of all, I just want people to kind of get to know who you are.
Well, I'm running as a state representative of the 154th District. I'm running on the Republican ticket, and I tend towards the conservative end of the Republican spectrum. So I believe in states' rights. I don't like the idea of the government mandating the states do certain things or anything. And by the same token, I don't believe that the state has the right to mandate to the local governments either. I believe in the Constitution, specifically, as I just stated, the 10th Amendment right, states' rights, as well as our constitutional right to own firearms. We have a lot of hunters in the area, including my husband.
So what's your background in the state of Missouri? Were you born and raised here? Did you infiltrate in later on in life, kind of like some of us did? Or what's your background there?
Well, my mother is a Missourian, or was a Missourian. She passed away about 20 years ago. I'm from California. I'm happy to say I'm from California because I've seen a lot of things there that I do not want to happen here in Missouri. In fact, one of my mission statements is I don't want Missouri turning into California, and I've seen a lot of things, and it kind of sneaks in on you. And now I just read on the news where another city, San Bernardino, has gone belly up.
Yeah.
And so we really have to, watch our finances here in Missouri. But I got interested in politics in California. So again, my roots are in California, but my love is here in Missouri. I got fired up about politics when I was a kid. One evening, my parents dragged my younger siblings and me to the local college to hear a political speaker. I can tell you that was the last place on earth I wanted to be. However, when I left the auditorium, I was a changed person. I was about 10 years old at the time, and the speaker that evening was Ronald Reagan. And I've never forgotten that experience, and I guess we could say that I owe Ronald Reagan my interest in politics and public service. I was in student government in high school. I earned a bachelor's degree from UCLA in political science. I also have a degree in police science, too.
Well, that could be very beneficial if elected.
Yeah, I'm law and order. I'm law and order all the way.
So give us some of your background. I know this wasn't something you were always interested in. What's some of your work history?
I've been interested in politics. As I said, I got a degree from UCLA in political science. I never dreamed I would be running for political office, though. When I moved to Missouri, I didn't even know what a social worker was, but I turned in an application for a social worker and got the job, and that's what I did for 15 years here in West Plains, assisting families. And I remember the day almost falling off my chair when I looked at our tax dollar budget, and I couldn't believe that social services welfare is over 1/3 of our state budget. It's bigger than our education budget, agriculture, highways, and I was just totally surprised. So in other words, we as taxpayers in Missouri are paying more money for welfare than we are for our children's schools.
Yeah, it seems to me there's something wrong with that picture.
It's very wrong, because if you've seen how much of your tax dollars are being wasted,
right,
you wouldn't believe it. It's unbelievable. But I guess I've talked to a lot of people who work for the state and for government, and that seems to be a chronic problem, waste of our tax dollars.
So that would definitely be something that you would be implementing if you were elected into office, is ways to reformulate how we spend our money within the government.
Well, my specialty is social services, and I know where the fat is. And what prompted me to run, like I said, I never thought that I would be running for office, but a couple of years ago there were cuts in social services and welfare, and I was working for Senior and Disability Services at the time, and those cuts hurt my clients, the seniors and the disabled, so badly. And it was almost unbearable, because the government makes people dependent, and then to pull the rug out from under them was really hard for me to watch. But what really prompted me to run for office was not only seeing my clients being hurt, but then we got another layer of management And I said, this is just, unforgivable. So I quit my job to run for office.
Now, when you talk about the allocation of funds within the social service division, you want to protect the elderly and the disabled.
Yeah, the mentally disabled and the physically. A lot of time people don't think about the mentally disabled.
Right. Now we're seeing, and I don't mean to throw you kind of a curve, but we're kind of seeing a lot of younger people on disability that some have a feeling maybe aren't warranted, and some of the reports that we're getting are due to depression and things like that because of the lack of jobs. Is that something that you, as an advocate, would focus on, maybe kind of clarifying to the people as to either why they're able to draw these benefits or why they shouldn't be?
Yes, I would certainly look into that as state representative. And I'm also interested in looking into having urine tests for people who are on welfare, drug tests. I find it the height of irony that many people have to take drug tests to pay for welfare, but if you're on welfare, you don't have to take any drug tests. And I think that is absolutely upside down, inside out, and backwards. So I would definitely be looking into that.
Now, you were talking about being an advocate for state rights as opposed to having the federal government come in and try to tell the states how to operate within the states. One of those things is the Obamacare plan. Is that correct?
Yes.
What would you advocate as being something that you would focus on with the Obamacare issues?
The whole thing. The whole thing is just
in a nutshell,
rotten.
right?
Well, it gets to just one word: states' rights.
Yeah.
The federal government has no right constitutionally to impose this behemoth program on the states. And I've got something here. One of my friends emailed it to me, and probably a lot of your listeners have already heard this, but this is in a nutshell. We're going to be gifted with a health care plan we are forced to purchase and find if we don't, which purportedly covers at least 10 million more people without adding a single new doctor, but provides for 6,000 new IRS agents, written by a committee whose chairman says he doesn't understand it, passed by a Congress that didn't read it, but exempted themselves from it, and signed by a president who smokes, with funding administered by a Treasury chief who didn't pay his taxes, for which will be taxed for 4 years before any benefits take effect, by a Congress which has already bankrupted Social Security and Medicare, and all to be overseen by an obese Surgeon General and financed by a country that's broke. What could possibly go wrong?
I have to tell you, I received that same email.
Yeah, I've read it many, many times, and it just never fails to get my hackles up.
I know.
We just have to kill it, and that's another reason, and I'll put a plug in for the Republicans. Like I said, I am running on the Republican ticket. If people want to get rid of Obamacare, we have to get rid of Jay Nixon, our governor, our Democratic governor. We have to support our Republican candidates on a national level and also on the state level. We really need people in our state capital, Jefferson City, who understand states' rights, who have studied the Constitution, and that's what I have done with my degree in political science. I've studied the Constitution, I understand the Constitution, and I love the Constitution. Now all we have to do is get people in government who will abide by the Constitution.
Well, since you mentioned the Constitution, I want to throw this out for you. There's a lot of people, and I'm not one of them, but I would just like to get your take on this, who say that the Constitution is outdated.
The Constitution protects us from tyranny, and I think you hit the nail on the head, especially in today's age. We have to stick to the Constitution, and we see what happens when we don't. And I think the more we stray from the Constitution, the more trouble we get into. Mm-hmm. And the people who think that we need to rewrite the Constitution or that it's obsolete, I've got a label for that. They're called progressives, Democrats. They see the Constitution as something to get around. And to me, the Constitution is something sacred. We need to keep it, especially now.
What about our Second Amendment right? Our right
That's
to
our
bear
right.
arms.
Yes, I totally support that. I support all the Constitution. And one reason our founding fathers gave us a Second Amendment right to own weapons is not only to protect our individual liberties, but also to protect our property. And my husband likes it because he can hunt. As I see it, we're chipping away at it piece by piece by piece by piece. And that's what's so insidious about progressivism. Little by little, we lose our freedoms, and then we wake up one day and we don't have any freedoms, and I foresee that happening, especially with this Obamacare.
Yeah.
Can I tell another Obamacare joke?
Oh, please do. We would love to have one.
Yeah, this was also emailed to me. Two patients limp into two different medical clinics with the same complaint. Both have trouble walking and appear to require hip surgery. The first patient is examined within the hour, is x-rayed the same day, and has a time booked for surgery the following week. The second sees his family doctor after waiting 3 weeks for an appointment, then waits 8 weeks to see a specialist, then gets an x-ray which isn't reviewed for another week. Finally, he has a surgery scheduled for 6 months from then, pending the review board's decision on his age and remaining value to society. Why the different treatment for the two patients? The first is a golden retriever taken to a vet. The second is a senior citizen on Obamacare.
That's funny. I'm sorry.
But the Republicans do have a plan. They have an alternate plan. Mm-hmm. And I would like people to know that because it's not that if we don't have Obamacare, we've got nothing.
Yeah.
And the Supreme Court decision was just a body blow to me, 5-4, especially since it was Chief Justice John Roberts who was the deciding judge in that. But the Republicans do have a plan, and it's more free market based, not government based, which I like.
I think if any kind of regulating should have been done, maybe we should have looked at the cost of health care and the cost of health insurance and the cost, across the board that way instead of trying to mandate.
That's an excellent point. However, the Democrats came out of the closet, so to speak, in 1992 with Hillary Care. So this has been their pet project for at least 20 years. Once the Democrats had both houses of Congress and the presidency, they believe, like I said before, that the Constitution is something to get around. And they were going to force this on us by hook or by crook, and that's what happened.
Kathleen Hensley running for State Representative District 154. The primaries are coming up on August 7th, so go out there and vote. We thank you, Kathleen, for coming in and sharing your thoughts with us here on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1 The Point.
Yeah, I want to thank you very much for this opportunity to get my message out. And I also want to remind people that it's very important to vote on August 7th. That's the primary. That's when your vote for this race will count. Thank you.
The Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1 The Point right here in West Plains, Missouri.